So, most people wait for their motivation to happen. However, to have true success, you need to make your motivation happen. So in this video, I'm going to talk about weight loss motivation and how to wake up every day with 100% drive to reach your goals without things like Netflix and cake pulling you off course. And at the end as well, I'm going to give you some extra help on how to empower yourself to achieve your goals in difficult situations. Right, so let's get into the video, guys. And if you are here watching this, I'm assuming you need some help around your weight loss motivation. So let's start off by explaining the 4 types of motivation. Yes, 4 types. So let's split it into 2 groups of 2 just to make it easier. So the first 2 types of motivation are the long-term push motivation and the long-term pull motivation. So what do I mean by that? So if you start off by imagining a line in front of you, so a big long line, and at one end is where you are now. This is your pain, your emotional and physical pain. So basically where you don't want to be anymore, the current situation and how it's causing you to feel. Okay. So that basically just gives you a push in the direction of making some changes in your life. Okay. And so at the other end of the line, you have your long-term pleasures or desires. So that's what you want and how you want to feel and how you want to be. So that gives you a pull. So that pulls you towards it. So what happens is with most motivation, people only really consider the push because push motivation is very easy to come by because it's how you're currently feeling. And so you've experienced it a lot and it's very easy to bring into your mind because it's happening every day. So what happens is that you will feel down, you'll feel bad about yourself and you'll think, yes, I want to make a change in my life. I want to lose weight. So you will go about doing some kind of diet and exercise program. Now, as you start moving along, so if you imagine this line again, if you start moving along the line, you start losing weight, you start moving closer to where you want to get to. The problem with that is as you start losing weight, you start feeling better about yourself. So let's say you've come a third of the way along the line. You start feeling better about yourself. So the motivation goes down because the pain, the physical and emotional pain has come down. So you start to relax a little bit and you start to let old habits creep in. And that devil on the shoulder, your devil on the shoulder starts telling you, ooh, just have a little bit of this, a little bit extra of this, or have a day off from your exercise program. And you start to relax and all of a sudden you start going back to how you were before and you start putting weight back on. The problem with that is you are now back where you started and feeling that pain again and you want to do something about it. So you start the same process over and over again. And this is what yo-yo dieting is. It's going forward, being pushed by where you don't want to be anymore and making some changes and then feeling a bit better about yourself and then going back to how you started again and then just repeating the process over and over again. So for some people, this happens all their life. They feel bad about themselves, they make some changes, they start to feel better, then they relax and they go back to how they were before and they feel bad again and then they make some more changes and they just repeat this cycle over and over again. So what's missing for most people is actually clarity around what they actually want. So their pleasures and their desires. So the other end of the scale. So with motivation, the push motivation, it will go down as you make progress. However, the pull motivation, the desires and the pleasures actually go up as you start to achieve more and you start feeling the benefits and the effects of reaching your goal. So having some clarity, thinking about what you actually want is so important. And it's a difficult thing because the pains of where you are very easy to think about because you're experiencing them. However, the desires are actually a lot harder because you have to put thought process into it to actually think about them because it's not something you've experienced before. It's a new thing. So it's very easy to remember and experience something you're currently doing, but to actively sit down and think about what you actually want, it takes mental energy. So people just don't necessarily do it. You might have some fleeting thoughts over it, but you're not very clear and it really holds you back. So to summarize the long-term motivations, you have your long-term push, and you may even hear some people say, I need a push in the right direction. So that's what you don't want anymore. And you have your long-term pulls. So that's your desires and what you actually want. So you need to be very clear about both of these really, because most people, they just take one or two things to push them in the right direction and then they forget about them. So a lot of people will use external motivations, and external motivations are things like events, parties, maybe even wedding, and things that come and go. And also things like maybe seeing yourself in the mirror or something someone said to you about the way you look in a negative way. And the problem with these is, like I said, these come and go. So if you are losing weight just for a holiday, for example, you lose the motivation as soon as the holiday is gone. So you need to have something that is long-term and actually going to stay there. So rather than an external motivation, you need to create the motivation from within, your real reasons of how it's fully affecting you. So that's really important as well. So let's now move on to the other two motivations, and these are the short-term motivations. And these are actually the same as the long-term, but the other way around. So you have short-term pains and you have short-term pleasures. So your short-term pains are actually doing things about your problem, going about finding a solution, doing exercise, eating in a healthy way. The short-term pleasures are not doing anything, relaxing, maybe having some cake, eating chocolate, sitting down watching Netflix. So in contrast to the long-term ones, the daily ones are the actually opposite way around. So long-term pleasure is actually reaching your goal and being healthy, whereas the short-term pleasure is sitting down and relaxing and doing nothing. The long-term pain is feeling really bad about how you are, whereas the short-term pleasure is eating cake and relaxing and maybe having fun. Not to say you can't have fun, but against what you've planned to do to work towards your goal. So the problem that arises now is that if you let these daily short-term fluctuations in motivation push and pull you around over the long-term ones, then you're going to be pulled in every single direction and be on and off your diet and not really have any motivation, because you're going to be all over the place. So you need to be super clear again about your long-term pain and your long-term pleasure, so that when the daily things happen, like, oh, I feel like relaxing today, oh, I feel like having an extra piece of cake, you remember, no, I am doing this because of how it's making me feel, and I know that I want to do it because I want to feel like this and I want to be like this, and all these amazing things are going to happen in my life. And so having a really big thought sort of session over being super clear on why and what you're going to get to will crush these daily fluctuations in motivation that push and pull you around. So it's really, really important to do that again and really be clear on what you want and what you don't want. So what to do about it? So the easiest thing to do is take some time and just be super clear over those things. Take some time and write out all the reasons you want to change, and write out all the reasons, all the things that you want in your life in terms of confidence, how your career will be, how you'll feel, what you'll do, like everything in your life that will be amazing once you reach your goal, and really make it emotional. And those will give you some like clear reasons to really give you that internal motivation and not relying on things that are going to come and go to push and pull you in different directions and kind of give you motivation one day and reduce it the other. So that is the biggest thing you can do around this. And most people just don't want to do it because it's effort. But if you put the effort in at the beginning, it will make the whole process so much easier and long-term and give you results that you can actually keep. Now, at the beginning of the video, I said I'd give you some extra help on how to empower yourself to achieve your goals when you're busy and things are getting in the way. So at the moment, we're just coming out of lockdown in the UK, and so many people have sort of sent messages saying, oh, because of the lockdown, I've put on weight. Because of the lockdown, this, that, and the other. However, the answer I usually give for that is it's not because of the lockdown. The lockdown is merely highlighting your problems. So you've been using certain things to get around weight gain, whether it be going to the gym or doing excessive exercise or eating certain things or keeping busy at work. Now you can't do those things, then your problem is actually being highlighted. So you can actually find a solution now because it's been pushed in front of you what the actual problem is. So use this time to actually make a change And the best time to make a change is when it's most difficult, because things will only get easier. And the way to think about it is, don't focus what's outside your control, because you don't have any influence over that. Focus on what's inside your control. So instead of saying, oh, I can't go to the gym because it's shut, say, what can I do instead? Because gyms have not been around forever, and I can do many different types of exercise, whether it be walking or a home workout. And the same with food. I can't go and eat the same food because maybe it's not available, or maybe I am overeating. Again, it goes back to what's inside your control. You can be very clear, like I said before, on why you want to change, and not use food to solve your boredom. Be very clear on how your weight is currently affecting you and where you want to actually get to. And when you're very clear on these things again and putting it inside your control, you can make the changes and actually not want to do the things you were doing before, which are keeping you where you are. So there's bad habits. So having that super motivation from within, that is pushing you forward and also pulling you to where you want to get to, really creates that overall drive. And that is what gives you the 100% motivation every day when you wake up to achieve your goals. So if you'd like to know more about yo-yo dieting, just click on the video that's appearing right now, where I go into more detail of why you do it and what to do to solve it once and for all.